I sold a few of my shares in Orgview, and that gave me enough to buy a
Are we allowed
house.
to share for the audience or a few shares sold for?
It was in US dollars, 63 million, but that was a minority. So obviously the value was
As
significant.
your success, I think, eclipses most people's idea of success. You've got a big vision. You've got a global vision. So welcome to Bronte Studios. Fantastic to have Ruppert Morrison join us from London here today. He's founded a couple of really big companies that manage world data for big corporations. He's founded a new company which harks back to his roots here in New Zealand. It's about guiding and leading, so it ties a lot in with his data-driven principles. A lot of people don't know much about Ruppert Morrison. Born in the Wairarapa, raised on a sheep station, living in London, founded this company and is now one of the world's leading companies for data analytics. I'm really excited about today's meeting with Ruppert, and it's a pleasure to have you here, Ruppert.
Great to be here, Mike. Great to see you again.
Thanks, man. Great to see you too. You're from a sheep station in the Wairarapa, taken back to Holland when you're 16, lost your father here in New Zealand, and when your father passed, your mother took you back to Holland. That's a huge transition. There's such a critical time. How did you find that transition, mate? That's just such a big shift.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It was hard. From one moment to the next, it was totally different culture. I went to this Dutch school. I never spoke a word of Dutch in my life. I left New Zealand, but I hadn't left since I was 5. I had really no memories of anywhere but New Zealand. And then we were living in Amsterdam, and it was like, what the hell do you wear to school?
You're going from literally a gravel
yeah.
road, and your sheep station would have been on a gravel road in those days.
Yeah, no, I wasn't used to wearing many shoes. You put your gumboots on and all the rest of it. So it was bizarre, and it was hard. And I'm not speaking the language as well. So I just had to survive it, to be honest with you. And
So did you study in Holland?
yeah, I then all my brothers went back to New Zealand, and they all studied in New Zealand, and some of them went back when they were younger. So they were all in New Zealand. I've got 4 brothers, but I then studied in Holland. It was free. I got paid to study. We didn't really have any money, so I got myself through university, paid my way through there, and worked. And the Dutch government was more generous than the New Zealand government, if that makes sense, in terms of supporting university education. So did that, met a Dutch girl, and then I was planning to move up, and then she studied law in Holland, got a conversion in London, so she applied to London. So I said, okay, we'll do that for 2 years. And that was like 25 years ago, and the rest is history, really.
Outstanding, mate. So you married the girl, you had some kids?
Married the girl, got 3 boys. Oldest is off to university. So the oldest has flown the nest.
Hey, look, you've had some massive successes in your business, and you've really catapulted Orgview, and now you've started Arahai. So do you want to kick me off with Arahai?
Sure. So I set that up just over 3 years ago. So it's still quite new. It means to lead or to guide. What we're building is board reports. So we take all the data in, so your P&L, your cash flow, your balance sheet, all your KPIs. And with that data, we do clever stuff. We calculate a bunch of stuff, and then you put that into a document that's native in the platform, and you write your commentary and everything else. And as far as I know, it's the first platform that actually builds a board pack. Interestingly, the first time I showed it to a PE firm, they said, this is great, but can you do portfolio reporting as well? So what we do is we take in data from lots of companies on the behalf of PE firms, so they can understand the performance of their portfolio and write commentary. So what are the successes? What are the issues? Coming out of the board, what are the key things they need to focus on? Portfolio reporting, board reporting, and we also do within the platform value creation planning. So you can understand, where are you today? Where do you need to get to? What are the key initiatives that you need, that are going to get you, that are going to transform your business? And keep abreast of that, which is a key part of the board pack, to helping our clients understand who are their customers and who are their competitors. Because most Fords are too inward focused and too operationally focused.
And I think for a lot of the listeners that don't have a full understanding of what you did with Orgview and how you brought that information together, it could be misconstrued as just another fancy way of using AI to generate a bit of data. And I just want to quickly clarify for everybody here, that simply isn't the case. Ruppert worldwide actually took one-dimensional data, and he said, there's data coming into your businesses at all times. There's always data coming into your businesses, but board reports rely on a one-dimensional data flow. And Ruppert's built constant flowing information, and from that constant flowing information you design technology that runs in parallel to that and starts to produce reports that actually are responsive and native, coming from the data as it flows through. Am I correct in saying that, Ruppert? Have I summed that up correctly?
Yeah, I think so. Org use a different platform. So If I go back, I was a management consultant, and as a management consultant, obviously you're dealing with a lot of Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint decks. And I was doing org design work, and the listeners that don't understand that, the big companies, they need to work out what their people do. So what work do people do, and how do you structure your people to do the work they need to do so you can execute your strategy?
Yep.
And turns out most people are struggling to do that effectively.
Yeah.
So Augie's client base is big corporates. It's particularly big in the US, New Zealand, Australia, and around the world.
Yeah, NHS is a big one in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, we have about 25% of central government as a client in the UK. We have the likes of Tesco, McDonald's, Nike, big banks. I can't mention all the clients, Salesforce, some of the big tech firms that actually. I can't mention everyone.
That's all right, Ruppert. I think the critical thing that I wanted to get across was, like, because I can see that in Arahai, what you're doing is you're applying the same principles. And so the reports for your board packs and everything, they're actually coming from your background and your history is in taking this data and converting it in real time and getting real-time data to deliver, to allow people to make proper decisions at the boardroom level, rather than just one dimensional, just trying to draw the parallel between just another company that's going to provide you with a board pack and a company that's actually going to draw on a lot of data to provide real insights into your company. And that's what you're talking about. That's what Arahai is. That right? Have I understood that correctly?
That's right. So we're taking different types of data, but it starts with the questions. You can have information from here to Tokyo, but if you don't know what the right questions to ask are, then you're going to be in trouble. So it starts with that. And then what are the facts that are going to help you answer those questions? And then what is your opinion about that? Like the why? And then you come up with your recommendations and then your actions. So it's not just about having the data, actually. It's about asking the right questions and then getting to answers and then getting to action. One of the things I say is not what that counts, is what you do with what you know.
Yep.
That matters.
That's fantastic.
And there's also a risk of analysis paralysis. So there's a risk of people just wanting more and more data and information, and then you take too long. So there's a lot of judgment to be made. And also people are really bad at stats. People are often making really poor decisions and then saying, oh, but the data tells me that. And actually the data tells them something totally different, but they're illiterate with the data. If people are going to use information and present arguments for why they should do things, they have to understand how to interpret it a little bit. So part of what I'm trying to do is I've also written quite a few books to try and help people ask the right questions and structure things in the right way. If you say the books are the theory and the technology is the software and the theory came first, the methodology came first.
Yep.
And that's why I've written the books, because it's all well and good. You can give you all the data in the world. If you can't ask the right question, you're going to end up probably doing the wrong thing. You'll be amazed at how poor people are at making decisions with confidence. So I'll give you an example. There's a thing in org design called spans and layers. So that's how many people report managers on average. And the layers is how many layers away from the CEO. And what a lot of people do is span of control. And they'll say anyone with less than 6 direct reports, they should delayer and fire those managers. And so they'll go into big organizations, they'll do quantitative analysis, and they'll say, oh, we can do tens to hundreds of millions by taking up these managers who've got less than 5 or 6 direct reports. And what they're not doing is understanding what is the work that person's doing, what's the knowledge that they have. Not everyone is just a pure player. Some people are managers and players at the same time, like player coach. And it can be possible to have one person reporting to you and that make total sense. So a lot of what I'm trying to do actually is unwind stupidity and people using data in a bad way. And too often people just go and just jump. And often, unfortunately, consulting firms, like big consulting firms, big branded firms, go in advising in a really negligent way. It is actually gung-ho, but it's polished and they wear the fancy suits and have the MBAs. And so you think big branded firms, they're saying X, and the CEOs often buy into that. So a lot of what I'm trying to do is unwind it. There was a guy called Peter Drucker, who was one of the founders of management theory, and he said, understand the work first and then the workforce. That might sound like you're a genius.
It just sounds like 101, but the 101 stuff is actually, it's the alphabet, mate. Have you ever thought about the fact that the English language has got 26 letters, but it's got 550,000 different words, and it's just how you arrange those different letters And the stuff like Peter Drucker said and the different things Zig Ziglar, you can have anything you want if you just help enough other people get what they want and all of that. They're the 26 elements that make up the whole realm of business, really, in my view. And you're locked in on the data aspect of it, which is really exciting because it's the conversion of data and the interpretation of data that is critical. That's where you've moved, is from AugViews was a big data generator and provided stats and reports, and you've seen a need off the back of that to actually be able to interpret that.
So with AugView, it's not just stats and reports. You play with the data, right? You model, you make changes, you do scenarios. You ask what if questions. What if we did this? What if we did that? So it's not a passive sport. So often when people think about analytics and data, it's passive, lean back, and it's just a bunch of information. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to make it active. So you're using an org chart, activities, you're assigning accountabilities to what people actually do. When we understand the work that people do, you can see why certain people hate their jobs, because they're doing work they shouldn't be doing. People talk about AI all the time. It's like teenagers talking about sex. Everyone's talking about it. Not many people are doing it. It's just one of those things. So we can actually break the work down and say, what work can you automate through AI? Okay, so what skills do you need to be able to leverage that and apply that? And given the workforce you've got and the skills you've got, what do you need? Where do you need to upskill people? So with org design, I bring a systems thinking approach, and I'm very wary of people that just look at an organization with one lens, just structure or just the work or just the activity, the competencies, the skills. I'm trying to understand all the angles, and then you're modeling. It's not a passive thing. So you're modeling through to try and help you then design the organization so you can execute on that. I raised money and I had investors from the US and Europe. When I was growing the business, we grew it a lot. I was asking my investors the questions, how should I have my board pack and how should I manage this? And they all sucked through their teeth and said they'd never seen a good board pack. I had a chairman and he ran one of the biggest PE firms. It was an American firm, but he had 11 billion assets under management. That's what he was responsible for, $11 billion. And I said, he was my chairman. I said, how am I going to structure my board pack? He said, I've never seen a good one. I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, how can you not know this? So that's how I came up with it. I'm like, I'm trying to build a business and grow a business. So it's a little bit meta. And then I'm like, there has to be a better way to do this, right? And
you're just a habitual innovator, really, Rupert. That's the point, isn't it? And the interesting thing, you talk about AI. One of the things I noticed with you, mate, and I'm just going to throw this in there. Your book that you wrote in 2015, I think it was called
Data-Driven Organization Design, yeah.
That really was well respected and is still used in the industry, and that was written in a time before AI. So to write a book before AI, mate, that actually went right to the top of the food chain and has continued to be used as the benchmark in human resources and management is a phenomenal success, and it's a testament to what you've achieved, mate. I'm really interested to know, who's the target market with Arohi? Can smaller businesses get involved, or is it top level, top shelf stuff?
No, so actually we have quite a few clients that are pre-revenue. So we have some venture capital firms that have got 300 plus investments, a lot of them seed investments. So we're helping management teams pre-revenue up, and which is really cool because the rest of my career was all focused on, I was a management consultant with big companies. And the smallest business I'd ever been in when I was a management consultant was 250 million pounds. And I thought that was tiny. I was like, oh, this is so small. So it's actually really nice working alongside founders and then people who step up to 20 million, 40 million turnover businesses, got some PE backing, trying to grow. We've got family businesses. We've got people in the industrial sector, for instance, people doing all sorts of interesting stuff. So at the moment, the goal will be to be global. I'll be finding my way out to New Zealand before you know it. At the moment, it's focused on the UK. So we're just scaling it here and proving it out and proving out the technology and making everything scalable. You're doing
exactly what we're doing with Yelsa. Totally, mate. Like, absolutely. And that's quite a process. You go out to the market. I don't know about you, but I went out to the market. We went out this year. We hit the ground running. We got heaps of feedback. We got lots of sign-ups. And then we just started to see all the little bits and pieces that we just needed to slightly adjust. So we're now in polishing phase and we're going to hit the market again in April. And you're probably doing similar things. So we got global ambitions. We'll meet somewhere across the oceans, mate.
We'll meet in New Zealand for sure. There's no question about that.
Absolutely, man. So I heard actually you're the local rugby coach, mate. So you've started a global company and you're just next level and you're down there teaching the kids how to play rugby there in London. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, one of the guys I coach with, he was 2 years below me at school in Masterton. So we got two of the coaches are like, he went to school with my brother, but he's a bloody good rugby player. So anyway, so there we go. Got two boys from the Wairarapa coaching in London at this local club. I've been coaching now for 13 years. It's good.
And what are you coaching? Is it like your boys' teams or as you've just followed
Yeah,
the
boys
teams as you've
teams. I
gone?
took my oldest son up to under 16, then went down to my middle son. Now I've dropped down to my youngest. He's 13.
And do they speak Dutch as well?
No, not really. The oldest understands it a bit. They support the All Blacks. I've indoctrinated them, brainwashed them.
Yeah, and so it's sounding almost like they're more connected to their Kiwi side than their Dutch side. But
Yeah, they are. We go back to New Zealand quite often. We've still got the Batch, so that's a pretty special place. So we go there.
oh, that's
Yeah, so
fantastic. And is that in the Wairarapa as well, is it?
That's in the Wairarapa, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Nice to have a little piece of something to come back to, eh? And
Yeah, no, yes.
yeah, we are a property podcast at the end of the day. So I should ask you a little bit about property over there. You've got a batch here in the Wairarapa, which is great. Ruppert, talk to me about your most recent property experiences.
The prices just keep on going up in London. London's a good market to be an owner of a property. So we bought our first property. It was a flat in 2003. And that probably more than doubled, significantly more than doubled. We sold that in 2018, and I bought this place in North London. And I sold a few of my shares in Orgview, and that gave me enough to buy a house.
Are we allowed to share for the audience or a few shares sold for?
It was in US dollars, 63 million US dollars, but that was a minority, so obviously the value was significantly
Is significantly higher than that because that was for minority shareholding. That's from the Wairarapa to selling at $60+ million worth. That's incredible, phenomenal.
And the business has grown significantly since then. It's done well.
Mate, it's done extraordinarily well, and you've done extraordinarily well, and you're out there being a great ambassador to the country. You've written multiple bestsellers without the help of AI, which is a credit to you. And you've just done fabulously well in business, and Kiwis just don't know what Kiwis are out there doing stuff. Like you say, there's another one there coaching in London, and no doubt he's successful in his own right as well. But your success, I think, eclipses most people's idea of success. You know, what I've understood about you, Ruppert, is that you've got a big vision, you've got a global vision. And I think the fact that you said before, you worked in a company that was 250 million or something, and you thought, gee, this is a small company. That tells you the size of thinking. And Charles Schwartz said in his book, The Power of Thinking Big, he said, a man will not be measured by the size of his wallet or the size of his belt or his university degrees. A man, when it comes to success, will be measured by the size of his thinking. And I think you've been measured by the size of your thinking, mate, and it's an absolute privilege to have this opportunity to meet with you. So
Thank you.
I should finish now because I take your advice on this. Like, we are an early stage company. We've got some great traction. We've got a product which pretty much the market is telling us they've got an enormous appetite for. If people find out about it, they're saying we're not selling with anyone but this system, because why would we pay to find buyers that mortgage brokers are registering into a system? There's no point paying on TradeMe. So we've got the attention of the market. We're getting, on average, in New Zealand, big numbers. It's 600 visits a day to our website, and we're spending less than 30 New Zealand dollars a day to get that on Google AdWords. We're getting constant sign-ups. I think the numbers on the website now, we're over 5,000 members. So we hit the ground properly in January. So we're talking maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks. We've got a couple hundred properties in there. We've got a couple of thousand buyers in there. I'm not telling you that to impress you, mate, just to impress upon you that we've actually hit the ground running. And to be fair, as a founder, I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed with it all, but I'm super excited because it's what I've dreamed of for 6 years, Ruppert. My wife and I have poured everything into this thing. So I just want a bit of advice from the guru.
There's one thing, what you can achieve in a year, you can't achieve as much in a year as what you think, but you can achieve way more in 10. So whatever you think you're going to achieve in the next year, you won't. You'll achieve less. You're an optimist, you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur, you're hitting your numbers, you're doing all this stuff. So in your head, you think, I'm going to achieve that. And the truth is, you probably want to halve it, maybe even by a third, right? And that's just probably going to be realities. But what you'll achieve in 10 years, you'll far exceed what you thought was possible.
Another guy who helped me, his name is Richard Thompson. He passed away a few years ago. He was one of the founding fathers of
the venture capital industry in the UK. He had an ops in Silicon Valley. I had the great honor of being introduced to Don Valentine through him. Don Valentine was the founder of Sequoia Capital. Amazing thing. So I spent a lot of time with every month with Richard and managed to get to know Don Valentine a little bit as well and spent some time with him. And Richard used to always say to me, everything's possible, but it's all about tactics and timing. It's just about getting the timing. And you know this because you've been at it for 6 years. And overnight successes that take 20 years to happen. My advice is it's going to be harder, it's going to take longer, and it's going to be more rewarding, and it's going to be bigger than what you expect.
To be thrown that question and just respond with such a comprehensive answer just shows the speed of your mind. Great advice, because you really do have to believe big when you're founding. You know that yourself. If you don't believe big, and if you don't dream big, and if you don't tell yourself big, then you can't get out of bed, because most often the time you're really the only person that believes it. Quite often the wife's just tolerating it. And I'm sure that you had the same experience. You just, we'll tolerate this and see where it goes.
There's a really interesting podcast called Founders, mostly founders that are dead.
Okay.
It goes through the life story, and there's a consistency, but one of the things he says, you need a supportive partner, 100% supportive.
Yeah.
So founders that are successful seem to have a few things in common. A big supportive home is one of them.
Mate, it's been central to me, personally. It's been absolutely central. Yeah. So
I've been lucky as well with that. And I think without it, you can't have your mind in the clouds and your feet on the ground. You've got to be, as you said, thinking big. The successful founders are extremely frugal with money. Right? They watch every single penny and they don't spend anything, and they're just really on every single dollar. The whole thing is a set of contradictions.
gave the kids for Christmas this year. Fact, I gave them middle names. They didn't have middle names. They were cheap. So I gave one grandmother's name and one the other grandmother's name, and I'm like, there you go, kids, that's all we can afford this year. Mate, we got a bit of money through now, and so we've ordered them passports with their new middle names, and we've promised them that when we start making a little bit more, we can have a little trip somewhere. They're super excited, mate.
Yeah. And then they'll cherish that way more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, mate, it's been so good to catch up with you. I really appreciate it, man.